So today, lads, we heard yesterday, there was some odd news, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. And first of all, fair play to Sophie Cunningham, congrats. Sophie Cunningham announced she will join USA Network's coverage of the WNBA this season. And a lot of people think that this means she's retiring. Hell no. Before we get on to it, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to get to 50. Today, free agent day. 58,250 subscribers by the end of the day. But we got to be real here with Sophie Cunningham. I think she's going to stay.
Lexie Hull stood frozen as the news hit the wire. Sophie Cunningham, the heart and soul of the bench, was effectively being pushed out of the Indiana Fever rotation. It wasn't just a roster move, it was a total demolition of the status quo. Caitlin Clark's arrival changed the gravity of the league, and now the financial fallout is claiming its first major victim. The big three are locked in, but the cost of greatness is leaving veterans like Sophie looking for a new home. Lexie knew the numbers didn't lie, but seeing her teammate forced into a media role while still in her prime was a bitter pill to swallow. The shockwaves are still vibrating through the locker room as the era of Clark truly takes hold.
Say it's uncertain that Sophie Cunningham plays in the WNBA. There is a 0% chance she doesn't play in the WNBA. I need to make that clear. There is a 0% chance she doesn't play. I think the odds of her playing with the Fever drastically increase. The odds drastically increase because of this, because there's definitely good money in this. And Sophie Cunningham herself has said, maybe there's going to be a career there when I'm done playing basketball, and that's what I'll get into. I'm excited for that about going and doing TV stuff. And yeah, there probably will be, because if you haven't seen Sophie Cunningham,
the catalyst for this entire mess started with a single declaration from the most valuable asset in the WNBA. When Caitlin Clark went on national television and named Kelsey Mitchell as her primary running mate, she wasn't just being nice, she was setting a mandate for the front office. Clark made it clear that Mitchell was the priority, and the Fever responded by slapping a core designation on her. That move essentially handed Mitchell a supermax contract worth roughly $1.4 million. In an instant, the salary cap became a ticking time bomb. The message was sent loud and clear. If you aren't part of the core, your seat is no longer guaranteed. Sophie was the first to feel the cold reality of that shift.
Is going to go into when she's done. It's so funny seeing the people crashing out on Twitter being like, there are so many former retired players that you could bring in instead of Sophie Cunningham. They wanted Sophie Cunningham. It's as simple as that. They wanted Sophie Cunningham. At the same time, when it comes to the media, it is, I'm not even going to say it is a absolute meritocracy, because it's not. It is not a meritocracy entirely.
Lexie Hull's situation became the next piece of the puzzle, and it sent her into a state of pure shock. The Fever didn't just let her walk, they reached out and put the restricted free agent clamp on her. By making her a restricted free agent, Indiana effectively locked her down, giving them the right to match any offer she receives from another team. This was a strategic move to ensure Clark has her defensive specialist and outside shooter, but it came at a massive cost. To keep Lexie, the team has to be ready to match potentially massive offers from expansion teams or talent-starved squads like the Chicago Sky. The financial wall is closing in, and the money left for Sophie Cunningham has completely evaporated.
When it comes to the media, it is, I'm not even going to say it is a absolute meritocracy, because it's not. It is not a meritocracy entirely, but it is a situation where if someone gets chosen over you for whatever reason, tough. A network obviously wants, there are times where networks want certain types of people. There are networks where times want people to push certain narratives. There are times where networks want to do the opposite. And if you get into that job, then it's tough. And what I'll always say for the people that maybe
the Big Four vision is officially the priority in Indiana, leaving no room for the fan favorite Sophie. We are talking about a core consisting of Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and now Lexie Hull. This lineup is designed to win titles, but it's a top-heavy structure that demands sacrifices at the bottom of the roster. Fans are already mourning the potential loss, calling it the Hello Darkness moment for the franchise. The reality is that the Fever are running out of money, and they are running out fast. You can't pay everyone a premium when you have 3 generational talents and a lockdown shooter all needing massive deals at the same time. Sophie's departure isn't just a rumor anymore. It's a mathematical certainty.
Then it's tough. And what I always say for the people that maybe aren't making it in media, is start your own thing. I mean that, where it's like, if there's a WNBA player that's like, okay, I want to be an analyst, but these networks keep passing up. Okay, start your own thing. And every one of them goes and does, okay, yeah, you know what, I'll start a podcast. And I'll start a podcast with a podcast company that gets 5,000 listens every month. And I'm like, no, you got to push your own thing better than that.
The most shocking twist in this saga came when Sophie Cunningham announced her new job with USA Network. To many, this felt like a premature retirement announcement or a signal that her WNBA days were numbered. While she insists she isn't retiring, taking a major media gig mid-season during free agency is a move we rarely see from active players. It's the Draymond Green path, but with a desperate undertone. Sophie is smart. She knows the Fever cap situation is dire. By securing a high-paying media role, she's essentially creating her own golden parachute. She is being forced to look at a career beyond the court because the Caitlin Clark effect has made her current roster spot financially impossible to maintain.
Gotta do better than that. Because there's no fucking reason why I should be pulling in $2 million a month, and there's former WNBA players who are able to speak. Or, Jesus, I see $2 million, 2 million views. Jesus Christ, I wish I was pulling in $2 million a month. Fuck me, man. I wouldn't be in a box room in a house waiting for my office to be built with a green screen back there and a signed Leeds jersey here. With a freaking mirror behind me. But, yeah, like, man, if they just, and this is the thing for everyone complaining, being like, oh, this person should get this. It's like, well, if they didn't, go create your own thing. Like, it's the new media. Like,
Lexie Hull is reportedly stunned by how quickly the loyalty in the league can shift. Just last season, Sophie was a vocal leader and a veteran presence that helped stabilize the locker room during the early Clark transition. Now, she's being treated like an afterthought because the new CBA provisions have made Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark eligible for massive paydays sooner than expected. This epic provision is a double-edged sword. It rewards the superstars, but it guts the middle class of the WNBA. Sophie is the poster child for this new era of roster construction where you either have a max deal or you are fighting for scraps. The shock on Lexie's face says it all. The game has changed and it's become cutthroat.
And then hire you. So, for everyone complaining about Sophie Cunningham, and if I can guarantee you there are former players that are pissed off at Sophie Cunningham, do something about it. I mean it, do something about it. Sitting there complaining on Twitter is not going to get you a job. Do something about it. So, yeah, anyway, it is an interesting one here when it comes to Sophie Cunningham, because I think this probably means she is going to go back to the Fever. Let's see what people are saying. Like, what a poor, unfortunate timing to get injured. But Sophie's commentary said she's not injured.
The expansion draft looms over every decision the Fever make right now. With the Golden State Valkyries and other teams entering the league, Indiana had to protect their most valuable assets. Lexie Hull being designated as a restricted free agent was a defensive maneuver to keep her away from teams like the Connecticut Sun or the Sky, who are desperate for talent. If Lexie were to hit the open market, she could easily command a salary upwards of $700,000 or more. The Fever are betting that they can match any offer, but that bet is being funded by the money that should have gone to Sophie Cunningham. It's a zero-sum game, and Sophie is the one holding the losing hand while Lexie watches in disbelief.
Player on TV, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, Draymond Green's been hired by TNT. Draymond Green has a track record of assault. But it's funny, like, if it was Diana Taurasi, people wouldn't care. And I mean, what, Sophie Cunningham tried to get someone back after going after her and her teammate. Diana Taurasi, I mean, I don't mean this as a knock on Diana Taurasi. as a shot on Diana Taurasi, but I'm just talking about the hypothetical. They wouldn't care if it was Taurasi. Diana Taurasi sexually assaulted someone on the court. Like, if we're being real, like, it's obviously no space for hate unless
internal tensions are reportedly simmering because of how publicly Caitlin Clark influenced these roster moves. By declaring Mitchell her running mate on NBC's Sunday night broadcast, Clark effectively bypassed the traditional front office hierarchy. No GM in their right mind would dare go against the wishes of the player who is single-handedly saving the league's TV ratings. This gave Mitchell all the leverage she needed for her Supermax deal. Meanwhile, players like Sophie, who have put in years of work for the franchise, are left wondering why their contributions were so easily pushed aside. The impact of Clark isn't just on the court or in the box score. It's in the very foundation of how the Fever are built. The Sophie Cunningham to USA Network deal is being met with a mix of celebration and vitriol. While many fans are happy she's securing her future, others are crashing out on social media. They argue that retired legends should be getting these analyst jobs, not active players who are essentially being pushed out of their primary careers. The critics claim it's a slap in the face to the veterans who paved the way. But the truth is simpler. Networks want Sophie because she's a lightning rod for attention. Just like her play on the court, her media presence is aggressive and unapologetic. She's pivoting because she has to, and the backlash is just a symptom of how polarizing she has become in the Clark era. Lexie Hull now finds herself in a bizarre position. She is officially part of the chosen ones in Indiana, but she's lost her closest veteran mentor in the process. The Fever front office isn't stupid. They know they need Lexie's hustle and defensive grit to complement Clark's offensive fireworks. However, the price of keeping this specific core together means the depth of the team is going to be incredibly thin. We are looking at a roster where positions 6 through 12 might be filled with league minimum contracts and unproven rookies. This is the gamble Indiana is taking. They are betting that the Big Four can play 40 minutes a night because they can no longer afford the luxury of a player like Sophie. The epic provision in the new CBA has completely rewritten the rules of free agency. It made Aaliyah Boston max eligible and accelerated the timeline for Clark's massive payday next season. This means the Fever brass had to be incredibly creative and incredibly ruthless with their current cap space. They chose to prioritize the youth and the connection between Clark and Mitchell over the veteran stability Sophie provided. It's a high-stakes move that has left the rest of the league watching in awe. Lexie Hull seeing her own RFA status confirmed was the final nail in the coffin for Sophie's Indiana career. The money simply doesn't exist to keep both, and the team chose the younger, cheaper defensive specialist. Critics are already pointing out that the Fever might be making a massive mistake by letting a player like Sophie walk. She was the one willing to take team-friendly deals in the past to stay in Phoenix, and she likely would have done the same for a chance to win a ring with Clark. But even a team-friendly deal might be too much for the Fever's current books. When you factor in the marketing power and the media demands of the Caitlin Clark era, the team needs every penny to manage the circus that follows them. Sophie's move to USA Network is a survival tactic. She's making sure that when the Fever officially say they can't pay her, she already has a bigger check waiting in the wings. The locker room dynamic is the biggest question mark moving forward. Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark combined for nearly 40 points per game last season, a backcourt duo that is arguably the best in the league. But basketball isn't played on a spreadsheet. You need chemistry, and you need players who are willing to do the dirty work. Sophie was that player. Lexie Hull is also that player, but she is now under immense pressure to fill the void Sophie is leaving behind. Lexie's shock stems from the realization that she is no longer just a role player. She is now a mandatory piece of the puzzle who has to perform at an all-star level just to justify the team's financial sacrifice. Fan response has been predictably chaotic. Some are shouting "let's go" at the prospect of the Big Four returning, while others are genuinely heartbroken. One fan noted that they felt like crying because Sophie offered something the team desperately needed: an edge. There's a fear that by forcing Sophie out, the Fever are losing their toughness. Clark brings the skill and Mitchell brings the speed, but Sophie brought the fire. Without her, the team risks becoming a finesse squad that can be bullied in the playoffs. Lexie Hull knows this better than anyone, which is why the news of Sophie's new job felt more like a funeral for the team's identity than a career milestone. The media landscape is also shifting because of this move. Sophie joining USA Network is a signal that the WNBA is entering its new media era. Just like the NBA, players are no longer waiting for retirement to start their broadcasting careers. They are using their platform while they are still relevant. However, for Sophie, this move feels forced by circumstance. If the Fever had offered her a multi-year deal with a respectable salary, would she still be looking for work in the booth? Probably not. The Caitlin Clark impact has created a world where even solid starters have to find side hustles just to keep up with the rising cost of being a pro in this league. There is a segment of the fan base that is actually happy to see Sophie go, which adds another layer of drama to the situation. Some fans on Twitter are claiming that her departure is necessary to clean up the roster and focus entirely on the Clark-Boston-Mitchell trio. They argue that Sophie was a distraction or that her style of play didn't fit the fast-paced transition offense Clark wants to run. These comments have been brutal, with some calling her fair game for criticism. This toxic environment is part of the massive impact mentioned in the headlines. Caitlin Clark has brought millions of new eyes to the sport, but she's also brought a level of scrutiny that is tearing veteran careers apart. The financial math for Lexie Hull's return is still being debated in front offices across the league. What is the cap for bringing her back? Some analysts suggest a cap of around $700,000, which is significantly higher than the league average. If an expansion team like the Valkyries comes in with $1 million offer, the Fever will have to make a gut-wrenching decision. Do they match and completely gut their bench, or do they let Lexie walk too? This uncertainty is likely why Lexie is in a state of shock. She's been clamped for now, but her future is tied to a salary cap that is being devoured by 3 superstars. She is safe for today, but tomorrow is a mystery. Sophie's response to the rumors has been defiant. She made it clear that there is a 0% chance she doesn't play in the WNBA this year, but she didn't say she would be playing for the Fever. This distinction is crucial. She is essentially auditioning for the rest of the league while working her media job. She's showing potential suitors that she is still high profile, still articulate, and still a winner. It's a brilliant marketing move for a player who has been backed into a corner by her own team's salary cap issues. She isn't just a basketball player anymore. She is a brand, and that brand is currently looking for the highest bidder outside of Indiana. The impact on the Indiana Fever's depth cannot be overstated. When you look at the successful teams in WNBA history, they always had a deep bench of veterans who could come in and provide 10 solid minutes of play. By prioritizing the Supermax for Mitchell and the RFA status for Lexie, the Fever are effectively saying they don't need a bench. They are putting the entire weight of the franchise on the shoulders of 4 women. If any one of them gets injured, the entire season could collapse. This is the shocking reality that Lexie is currently processing. The safety net that Sophie Cunningham provided is gone, and the tightrope just got a lot higher. We also have to talk about the Sydney Colson factor. Some fans are suggesting that the Fever should bring back Sophie and lose other bench pieces like Sid, but the money doesn't work that way. Sid is a veteran who likely commands a much smaller salary than what Sophie would require. The Fever aren't choosing between Sophie and Sid, they are choosing between Sophie and the ability to pay Caitlin Clark her worth next year. It is a cold, hard business decision that ignores loyalty in favor of long-term sustainability. The Big Five dream was always a fantasy, and the reality of the Supermax has brought everyone back down to earth with a thud. As the free agency period continues, the Sophie watch has become the biggest story in the league. Every move the Fever make is being analyzed through the lens of her departure. When they officially signed the core offer for Mitchell, the clock started ticking on Sophie's exit. Lexie Hull remains the integral part of the roster for now, but even her position feels precarious. If the Fever have to match a massive offer for Lexie, they might not even have enough money to sign enough league minimum players to fill a full roster. The Caitlin Clark era is bringing unprecedented success, but it's also bringing unprecedented roster chaos that nobody was truly prepared for. Lexie Hull's hustle and outside shooting are a natural complement to Clark, which is why the team is desperate to keep her. But at what cost? We are seeing a shift where complementary players are being valued more than established veterans. Sophie is an established star in her own right, but her skill set might be seen as redundant or too expensive for a team that already has its primary scorers locked in. The shock Lexie is feeling is the realization that she is now the primary support system for a legend. The pressure is immense, and the person she used to lean on for veteran advice is now sitting in a broadcast booth across the country. The ultimate takeaway from this roster shakeup is that the Indiana Fever are no longer a rebuilding team. They are a championship or bust operation. Caitlin Clark's massive impact has forced the front office to skip the usual steps of team building and go straight to a stars and scrubs model. Sophie Cunningham being forced out is the first casualty of this aggressive strategy. Whether it works remains to be seen, but one thing is certain, the league will never be the same. Lexie Hull is in shock, Sophie is in the booth, and Caitlin Clark is in the driver's seat. The future of the Fever is being written in real time, and it's the most dramatic story in sports.